Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see you all. Thank you, everybody who signed my petition. It's extremely important to not blow $3,500 of campaign contributions to get on the ballot. I'm really appreciative. Kathy and Odias Smith have petitions for Lee Roberts. Lee is a good friend. She is running for the school board, and she's running against Lori Shikalo. So if you're interested in signing those petitions, I'm sure that Kathy has lots of petitions. And also thanks to Donna Meltzer. Thanks, Donna, for everything that you do. Donna asked me to speak today about what, and Ed Fielding has petitions also. Donna asked me to speak today about our proactive commission. We are just less than 1.5 years into this new commission. We inherited some very big problems. The first is an infrastructure backlog, an inlet for which we didn't have funding. We inherited a business development board and a business development board contract that were providing no measurable benefits at an extraordinary cost to our taxpayers. We inherited a convention and visitors bureau with which we pay for with our bed taxes. We inherited a comprehensive plan that had been shredded to pieces. We have an out-of-control community redevelopment agency. That's the acronym is CRA. We inherited a county staff that at the very least was extremely wary of the new board and distrustful of the new board. We inherited a county legal staff that had institutionalized practices that were not beneficial to us. We're dealing with them. We're fixing the problems. We're restoring civility in government. We're restoring accountability, transparency, and trust. The infrastructure backlog is real. For 12 years, the majority Board of County Commissioners didn't budget for maintenance. There are lots of capital projects built with absolutely no funding for maintenance. So, with that, we are probably going to ask voters to approve an infrastructure sales tax in November. It'll be either a half cent or a full cent. It will be for somewhere between 3 years and 10 years, and it will be very, very restrictive. We understand that taxpayers were disappointed with some of the decisions that the board made with our last sales tax. A lot of people weren't happy with the $10 million Sailfish Splash water park. So if we do this infrastructure sales tax, and I'm quite certain that we will, it will be very, very restricted so that you, the public, can measure our success. You can gauge whether or not we were truthful about how we were going to be spending your tax dollars. In our inlet, we no longer have a dedicated funding source. We used to have inlet dredging funding available through earmarks. Congress did away with earmarks some years ago, so now we're floundering with unreliable shoaling and unreliable funding. So we have, I think we'll probably, we will have a dedicated inlet budget. We absolutely will. It'll probably be a combination of sources. There's a bed tax that's available. For the first time, there was a shallow inlet dredging allocation in the president's budget. We will be applying for that. We will make sure that our inlet has a reliable dredging source. We had a business development board that was completely out of control, and when I say that, I mean that literally. It was out of the Martin County Board of County Commissioners' control. We did away with that board. We did away with the contract. We have a new contract. We have a new board. We have a way to extricate ourselves out of that contract if it's an underperformer. So we have that sort of under control. The Convention and Visitors Bureau is funded by our bed tax, which is currently a 4-cent tax. It's eligible, we can raise it to 5 cents. That 4 cents rate, each cent raises currently about $300,000. So we had a Convention and Visitors Bureau that was raising $1.2 million, and we had no idea what they were doing with it. They had a budget, but we saw no return on investment. We didn't require them to show return on investment. So we did away with that board. And we are now reorganizing. It may be under the county's control, it may be under private control. There are many examples of counties that do it successfully, whether it's inside the county or it's a public relations organization or something like that. We will reorganize that and make sure that we can see a return on our investment. The comprehensive plan, we've heard a lot about. The former county majority removed so many protections that had been in force in Martin County for nearly 3 decades. So we are taking baby steps to put them back in force. Careful revision under Maggie's expert guidance and with input from the entire community resulted in comp plan amendments. And for those naysayers, those detractors who were not happy about Maggie's leadership role in those comprehensive plan revisions, let me just say that no one in Martin County has more expertise than Maggie does about our comprehensive plan and about so for anyone to refuse to accept her help when offered, her volunteer help, we didn't pay her, to have thought that was a good idea, that would have been irresponsible and stupid. We are very, very lucky to have Maggie's expertise, and if it's up to me, we will use it every time it's appropriate. So we drew legal challenges, and we've agreed to sell most of them. And as we know, the residential capacity analysis remains outstanding, and that's a simple matter of math. The formula that we were using in order to determine those very, very critical capacity needs, it was fuzzy math at best. Now it's very, very clear math, and that doesn't stand a chance. We've fixed a problem, and we now have a very, very clear formula for determining our residential needs. There are community redevelopment areas in Martin County. There are 7 of them. All but one are much larger than they should be. They need to be reduced to an appropriate size. They are siphoning off 75% of their taxable values to be used within those restricted areas. And the former majority board had ceded all control for those millions of dollars of every year that are collected to an appointed advisory board. The Board of County Commissioners, the elected board, no longer had control over the community redevelopment areas. We abolished that board. So control and responsibility are now back where they should be. They're back with the Board of County Commissioners. We are making the decisions about the community redevelopment areas and how the money is to be spent. County staff, as I said, was wary, apprehensive, distrustful of the new majority. They didn't know what to expect. They are working diligently to give us we provide policy direction. They are doing their best in order to provide that, to implement that. So I think that we're making an awful lot of progress with county staff. County attorney and his offices, our last county attorney retired, and we were left with no county attorney. We hired a county attorney a year ago, And he has just done a remarkable job of reinvigorating his department. He's hired new staff. We have him, we have 2 new attorneys, we have new legal aid, we have a completely energized county legal staff. They're just doing terrific stuff, and we should be very, very proud of the work that our new county attorney is doing. So with all that, then we had our lost summer. The Board of County Commissioners took very, very decisive action. We took our problems to the streets. At the state level, Senator Negron was prompted to hold public hearings. There is rather unprecedented funding, even in this legislature in Tallahassee this season, for projects for the Indian River Lagoon. So we are very pleased with that. At the federal level, we received more funding than any other SERP project for the C-44 project this year. We are continuing to lobby very, very hard for additional federal funding. Our advocacy got national attention, and our Congressman Murphy, who is the hardest working congressman in Washington, D.C., organized public hearings in Washington. There were panels that were scheduled, and I think it was maybe the 3rd of October. And these hearings were scheduled a long time before that, and so we didn't know that the government was going to shut down. And we went ahead with the public hearings, and River Warriors, and I'm sure that there's some River Warriors in the room. 60 or 70 people did car washes and bake sales and that kind of stuff, and took a bus up to Washington, D.C., just so that they could be present to support us. We had a hearing room that was, I think it must have held a couple hundred people, and we had cameras. And because the government was shut down, we had the only cameras running in the entire Capitol. So there were first of all, there were federal, there was a federal panel, and there was a state panel, and there was a local panel, and I was on the local panel. So throughout the day, congressman after congresswoman after senator just paraded in and stood in front of the cameras and professed their support for the Indian River Lagoon and the Word Bill, and we knew why they were there. We didn't care. We were getting them on record saying how much they supported our cause. They did. It was fantastic. 27 congressmen and women and senators showed up. Speaker Pelosi showed up. It was great. It was just great. And on that October 3rd, the Water Resource Development Act, our water bill, was on absolutely nobody's radar. There was no way the word was going to pass out of the House. It had already passed out of the Senate, but it was going nowhere in the House. And after they, when they reconvened, the House passed that word bill about a week after they reconvened, and it has to be a huge part of that was that very, very powerful public hearing. So, and then I just wanted to touch on All Aboard Florida. We have known about this proposal for quite some time, and the agency that first of all deals with all transportation issues in Martin County is called the Metropolitan Planning Organization. We have known about it, and some of us on the Metropolitan Planning Agency have just been appalled at the proposal from its inception and have been very vocal about our opposition to the All Aboard Florida. And the Board of County Commissioners has been taking action. We've sent letters. We're trying to organize a coalition of affected government agencies throughout the run of the train, and I'm sure that we will band together to oppose this. There's one, Commissioner Smith favors it. He's the only one who does. So,
Go figure.
but I have to say that the federal government is throwing millions of dollars at it, and the state government is throwing millions of dollars at it. So as hard as we work to oppose the bill, the Senate, the federal government and the state government are working twice as hard to enable it. The state government, the governor has already offered up upwards of $210 million in order to build a depot in Orlando. So it's problematic, but I assure you that locally we're doing everything that we can in order to make that terrible thing go away.